Let's see. I am complaining about Boy Scouts in the past. Well, I guess they didn't really, they washed out in the end. That's where I'm getting to. So I guess they're not exactly Boy Scouts after all. But anyway, so this kid was always just had kind of a nasty attitude about it. And so I particularly didn't like him, especially because he locked I'm gonna say my protege. It was a younger scout that I took under my wing because the guy was, I'm not gonna say dumped on the troop, but both of his parents were older. And he was fairly overweight, so he had a lot of trouble with, like, backpacking, for example. And so I or my family were the ones kind of hanging out with this kid. And he was a very kind kid. But, you know, just fate had dealt him a bad hand. And he was not exactly the fittest individual ever. And so they had specifically locked him in an elevator for an entire meeting. And we didn't find him until later. Which sucked, because this poor kid was actually, like, super committed to scouting. And, you know, was arguably one of the best scouts to go through that troop. But no one was giving him a chance because he was a bully magnet. And so this kid shows up 45 minutes late, and I'm like, you know the rules, give me 45 push-ups. And he and his father just start screaming at me. It was not okay, you know, how dare you do this to us? You have no right to do this. I'm the senior patrol leader, I'm rolling the meeting, and I'm just sitting there being like, no. Like, we have nothing important going on today. I'm just gonna stop here. Everybody else go work on your merit badge. He's not even caught up and or doing this merit badge, so it doesn't matter. And I'm just gonna wait here until either you stop yelling at me and give me 45 or you leave. And they left and never came back, and the troop vastly improved for the most part. At least until I left, and then I have no idea what happened after that. But, like, these kids were awful. And I realized that what I did was probably maybe not morally the right thing to do. But I still stand by, like, my action of, like, I put up a boundary for this, and it's like, you know, you've been kind of a miscreant this entire time. Here's a consequence for once in your life. Even if it's not fair. Well, no, it was fair. I did the 45 push-ups first. I was like, here, look, I'll do the 45 push-ups. And I did them. And they screamed at me pretty much the entire time. And I'm like, alright, this is what you want to be, then go for it. I have no idea what happened to the kid after the fact. But, you know, I couldn't boot them from the troop. I was just the senior patrol leader. And so I did what I could, and it worked. But I was telling the story to some other people, and they weren't particularly interested in it, and I was kind of sad, and I was like thinking, did I offend them? I have no idea. I still wonder that sometimes, because, like, maybe push-ups offend people. Maybe my light bullying offends people. I don't know. I have a lot of, like, doubt on these things, but I just kind of plow forward, because what else can I do? Scouts can relate. Was doing cat ROTC officer training. Ooh, I've heard some ROTC stories that I'm not allowed to recant. I'm not allowed to speak of, because they are not my story to tell. ROTC gets juicy, though. And they're probably not used to being told no. There's a lot of kids like that. Like, I've known a lot of people that really cannot handle being told no about anything. I had somebody blow up at me the other day because I wouldn't give them platinum in, was it platinum? Yeah, it is platinum in, Warframe. Sorry, I'm so used to calling it plat that I just forget that it is actually platinum. But they were like, give me 1,000 platinum, and I'm like, no, why? And they're like, ah! I was like, okay, you are banned from this channel forever. Screaming at somebody that you want something from, not an effective strategy. Pro tip. Anyway, let's see. But, so... Right. The killer scout leader. So, I will admit, he never killed a scout that I knew of. But this is the kind of guy that, like, I was waiting to find out that he had dragged somebody to a trip and gotten them killed. Because, I actually didn't find this out until after I got out of scouting. Because I'd already, gotten my eagle and moved on. But my dad was talking to me, and he's like, yeah, you know, I'm not really sure about this. He's still the scout leader, and, like, this guy had taken some of his friends, backpacking once, and both of them had died during it. And it was this guy in charge of picking the trail, prepping everybody, and, you know, making sure that everybody was good to go, and, you know, wasn't going to be, like, overwhelmed by the trip. And more or less, like, I'm not gonna say led them out into the wilderness to die, because, like, realistically, you can't prep for everything, but he was the one in charge of the trip, and 2 men ended up passing away as part of it. I think heart attacks or exposure, and it wasn't like any major disaster had happened. It's just that, like, it was literally too hard for the both of them, and probably by the time they found out, it was too late. And, yeah, that's not exactly... Oh, right. We should probably just sell... I'll just sell the citrus for now. Let's see, anything else? I guess I could sell the cooked fish. That was a planned murder trip. Couldn't be proved. I mean, possibly... Oh, goddammit, did I not get capitalism? Oh, no, I have capitalism, but I don't have commerce. Shoot. Well, I've gotten rid of some useless things. Oh, well, happens. I guess we'll just make some more torches. I was wondering why I wasn't gaining money there. Ah! But yeah, so, whatever had happened, it was dicey and suspicious and, like, not good. And he became not only the person in charge of all outings, that people must know their limits. I agree with that to some degree, but if you're in charge of planning a trip for your friends, who are, like, getting on in years, like, both of these men were in their 50s, or older, I believe, because the guy himself was, like, into his 50s. He was just insane. He used to be an Olympic coach. Like, honestly, I guess that's part of it. This guy was an Olympic coach. He should have known generally beforehand what these people were capable of, because, like, that's what his job should have been, maybe. Maybe that's why he was an Olympic coach as opposed to still was. I don't know, but, like, when both of the other 2 people on your trip die, I think there's a certain point where you sit down and say, maybe I screwed up. But, I don't know. Anyway, so, effectively, everybody in the Boy Scout troop, just let him organize all of the high adventure trips. He straight up took a bunch of middle schoolers and high schoolers out to, was it the Andes? For a week-long backpacking trip. And it's like, that's where I heard about this, because my brother was thinking about going. And my dad was like, no. And my brother's like, alright, why? And my dad was like, he has killed people. Maybe not directly, but, like, the trip he led resulted in fatalities, and unless it was, like, a freak avalanche, like, that'd be fine, but no, this was, like, exposure and a heart attack. Like, that's... Eee. And so, yeah, maybe the guy was blameless, but that's still too much doubt that you want to put that person in charge of your kids, and everybody did, for no reason. And so, like, it was pretty apparent that he was a terrible leader for these things, because what he would do is he'd plan trips, but he would plan 2 trips in the same one. He would very specifically, let's grab commerce. Hey, I can get the amulet now that I'm thinking about it. But, so he would plan 2 trips, both in the same area. One would be the high adventure, trip for the more experienced scouts, you know, tougher, more grueling, requires, you know, more climbing and stuff. And one would be the lighter trip for the newer scouts. Except for what he would do is he would just toss the newer scouts out the car, tell them vague directions like go this way until you reach the campsite, and then he'd drive off with all the more experienced scouts. And that was just what he did. And this is actually before I had really, like, gotten too far into the troop. You know, we just got there, and, you know, I was talking about my protege, the fat kid that got bullied. Well, we were camping. This is a camping trip that we all went on, that this guy had planned. He found a weenie trip that he's like, oh yeah, it's only two miles. You know, no big deal. It was 6 miles up a mountain. He didn't tell anybody this. He just tossed us out the car and said good luck. Now, luckily, obviously, we had 3 adults with us. My mother, my father, and one of the other older adults. And the older adult didn't have any of his kids there. His kid had already graduated, but he's still attached to the troop. So this guy was just like, all right, well, bye, and then just like speeds off down the trail. Not a big deal, but like definitely kind of sketchy, and not very helpful if, say, you're trying to get up the mountain with a couple of like tenderfoot scouts. So ultimately we kind of split up into a couple of different groups. Not that big of a deal, but enough of one that like we really could have used more adults, and my brother and I kind of had to be the stand-ins for this because, yeah. Anyway, so my mother and I were in charge of the people in the back, which was pretty much this one guy. And this one guy was quite overweight. Lovely kid, very apologetic. He knew his limits, and he knew that this trip was too much for him, but it was his first backpacking trip ever. He had been assured it would be nice and easy, no problem. He came prepared. He was over-prepared, but ultimately you strap a 30, 40-pound backpack to a kid that's already carrying an extra 100 pounds of extra weight. Like, that's gonna be too much for him. Especially if he hasn't done a whole lot of this stuff before. And so we're going up this trail with no map, minimal directions, and we were told you will find the campsite after X amount of time. Sun goes down, we're still going, we found no campsite. Eventually we get there. All of the expert people were already there. No, actually, no one was set up. Just the one dude was set up, and he was already in his tent asleep. We literally stumbled across his tent and found the campsite. The high adventure scouts roll in, I want to say nearly 11 p.m. and they're all tired as shit, and this guy just like completely bold-faced is like, oh, how was your hike? And we're all like pissed off and blistered and like, you know, that was not a 2-mile hike. What were you doing? This is not something you bring tenderfoot scouts on. He was like, whatever, no big deal, you got here. And then that was it, and he went to bed, and it was just like, what are you doing? And just no remorse. And like, yeah, sure, maybe he wasn't directly responsible for those guys dying, but boy, do I believe my dad when he's said that this guy was indirectly responsible. And none of his trips got better. They were always bad. And so, like, to the point where, yeah, we just started doing our own trips instead because they were significantly less deadly and spooky. Oh, hey, lighthouse, finally! God damn. Now y'all happy? Oh, you know what? In retrospect, I shouldn't put this here. I should put it in the center. Reminds me all too much of your scout leader. Ooh, that's bad. I've had a couple bad leaders like that in the past. Not often, though. Most of the time, they're pretty bad. Well, no, most of the time, they're pretty good. Maybe a little bit biased, or maybe a little bit, like, hands-off. Oh, god damn it, I shouldn't put this up here. I should put it up top, now that I'm thinking about it. Because otherwise, we're going to be walking in the shadow of a Boaty-No-Crashy for pretty much this entire time, and that's a pain in the butt. Because I don't want to do that. Okay, so next up we need... Actually, we're starting to get enough gems, so we need a quarry next. Oh, yeah, what other weird scout stories did I have? My first experience with going to camp was Boy Scout camp in, I now remember the Cub Scout camp I went to. And that was really cool. We made, like, mini trebuchets, the Superior Siege Engine. That was fun. I remember that fondly, though I barely remember it, because I was, like, 5. But, so anyway, first time I ever went to Scout camp, we roll in the night before, and everything's kind of hunky-dory. We have these, like, these old military-style, you know, tents. Not exactly the kind of comfortable thing you want, but this is Southern California, so who cares? Like, they really were not meant for, like, comfort sleeping. They had, like, horribly uncomfortable cots in them, and it just was not a good scene. But, like, again, who cared? It was, like, 70 degrees the whole week. It didn't rain at all, and... Oh, I just had another memory of this shitty Scoutmaster. Okay, whatever, we'll get to that one next. Scout leader would have been a great drill sergeant. Probably not. Drill sergeants actually know what they're doing, generally. I think. I assume so. But But no, so, okay. So, we're in these big canvas tents. And we go in, we set up our stuff, and, you know, we go off for dinner, we go through orientation, no biggie, go to bed. I turn on my light, I look up, and the entire, just top of the tent is just covered in daddy long legs. Like, a full, like, I'm not gonna say nest of them, necessarily, but, like, it was like burn the tent down levels of spiders, and I was not happy about that. Let's see, did I grab commerce? I hope I did. So almost immediately I was like, Dad, we gotta get out of here. I'm not sleeping in this tent. And so luckily we'd brought our own tent, so it was not a big deal. But there was definitely that feeling of just like, I don't know how many of you guys have to deal with this, but for me, every once in a while I just get that like physical feeling of just like extreme discomfort. With, like, no immediate cause, but it's enough to, like, make my skin crawl. Technically, yeah, I know they're harvestmen, but, like, whatever, it's quibbling. And so, yeah, we had brought our own tent anyway, so we immediately just go pack up the tent and set it up. Unfortunately, we left a number of our suitcases still in the canvas tent, because it was super late at night and we just wanted to go to bed, and, you know, like, who's gonna raid our suitcase for stuff? Well, apparently I was wrong, because when I woke up in the morning, they'd taken all of my pants. And so all I had was my, like, pajama shorts. And so I went into the other tent to change. And more or less like one of the older scouts, you know, not the senior patrol leader, but one of his goons, more or less barges in to make fun of me because they stole all of my pants. And now, admittedly, like, that could be a harmless joke, but I've literally never met these people before. And, like, I could laugh if it was, like, you know, some friends pulling, like, a small prank. But this is like, full-on stranger danger, you know, kid that's... If I was in 6th grade, that would put me somewhere around, like, 12, probably? And these are kids that are, like, high school age. So, like, considerably larger and considerably, like, well, more physically developed. And so, like, suddenly there's a dude in my tent. I am just wearing my underwear. And I have no pants. I don't have pants on, and all of my pants are missing. Your troop sounds like it sucked. This is actually a different troop. I've been in 5 scout troops in my life. Because I moved a lot. Anyway, so yeah, this kid just barges in and more or less, like, is making fun of me for stealing my pants. And then, like... more or less reveals that he has my pants and runs off with, you know, the one pair. And so, obviously, not thinking too much and not really thinking, oh yeah, I'm just only wearing my underwear, I just run out after him, so I'm running through the camp in my underwear. And that's not a big problem until they take one of those, like, they're like inch long, or an inch diameter, poles that are supposed to be like hiking sticks, or walking sticks, hiking pole, whatever. The Boy Scouts would sell, and they were kind of cool, and you could carve them into like really cool things because they were so thick. And so I'm running through the camp, and 2 guys clothesline me through it, or I don't even remember how it happened, but effectively they managed to get it up through my legs and more or less dragged upwards as I'm like running over it, catching me in the junk and laying me low. And I obviously was not very happy about this, because you don't hit a man in the junk with a, you know, inch-thick wooden pole, because that hurts like hell. Doesn't matter what age they are. Do I have enough to buy an island? Yes. Bango! Wow, that's disappointing. Oh well. Let's see. But yeah, so... obviously, my dad, who is new to the troop as well, is furious. But for the most part, doesn't really stand up to people that well. He's kind of he's super mild-mannered. Like, I don't think I've really ever seen him get terribly mad. He just gets quiet and then, like, shuts himself off, which is fine. I've never, nor will I ever judge him for that. But in this situation, I was definitely, like, pretty upset. And I guess word on the street was, because obviously I was a sixth grader, I'm not exactly in the loop. Apparently what had happened was the goon that had stolen my pants had tricked the two, like, I'm gonna say the dweebier upper tier scouts. The one guy who was a high-functioning autistic, and then the other guy who just didn't have any friends. He had convinced them to be the ones to get me with a pole. And so they couldn't really be blamed because they were brought into it, but this guy couldn't really be blamed because he didn't do it himself. And all I remember effectively after that was just, like, stay the hell away from any of the older scouts for that, while I was in that troop. And then we moved away a couple months later, so it didn't really matter. But it was just like, that was a weird and bad experience. And not a fun one. Anyway, I'm just telling weird nightmare stories from my childhood today. I don't know why I'm in a dark mood, but I am, and I just am. Okay, let's see. Did I get that key? I did get that key. Awesome. Let's see. Did somebody mention the Boaty-No-Crashy? Somebody mentioned the Boaty-No-Crashy. Why would you do such a thing? Unfortunately, I can't go back and look at, let's see, is not going to be a scout an option. Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, to the point where I would probably not recommend... Well, I don't know. Some Boy Scout troops are real good, but, like, make sure the culture is good first before you join one. Because they are very hit and miss. Some are really good, some are not so good. The second troop I was in was mostly good. Though there was definitely, like, some weird favoritism going on, but nothing, like, bad happened while I was there. No. There's definitely something... Oh, that's a weird story. So I knew... Okay, so... Conversely to the previous story, I actually was kind of one of those guys once. There was this kid. His name... I think he actually had the exact same name as my brother. Which wasn't that big of a deal, but, like, you know the phrase, like... rat-faced? This guy literally had, like, fairly rat-like features. You know, a long nose, kind of an overbite, kind of beady eyes, and, like, he... You know, the older I get, the more I realize that he was just kind of an unfortunate... he was just an unfortunate person. Almost nothing about his appearance was, yeah, his fault. He had greasy hair, he definitely didn't shower enough, but, like, that's not something to blame somebody for. But he attached himself to my dad really badly. And I never really experienced this before because my dad is so freaking mild. Most of the time. At least to other people. He acts fine around, like, me and my brother, but, you know, externally not so much so. I guess we might as well eat those, they're not worth much. But so this kid apparently had limited parental figures apart from his mother, and effectively, like, I just got this creeped out vibe from the guy the whole time. And I definitely did bully him. I don't think I ever did anything physically to him, but I definitely was, like, trying to edge him out, because he just gave me this skeevy feeling, and I could never put my finger on it. Until afterwards, when my dad told me the story, where apparently the kid had approached him about, like, my dad becoming his dad? And, like, obviously this is, like, middle schooler memories, so I don't remember it that well, but I just remember, like, hearing that, and just, like, it was this, like, weird level of, like, pity, fascination, and just, like, validation? At the same time. And, yeah, in retrospect, like, I really do feel bad for this kid, because, like, that sucks to be in a weird position. But, like, I don't know. That was weird. And I had forgotten about it until now, until I started telling weird, bad scout stories, because I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. Let's see. Did we get more of this? There we go. Okay, so anyway, I had another bad story about the scoutmaster that killed. We're just gonna be on bad scout stories tonight. Unfortunately, human nature says we more or less remember all the bad memories and none of the good. I remember a lot of the good, but the bad memories stand out as particularly good stories, so that's why I tell them. Anyway, So when I was in scout camp, again, I have a lot of scout camp stories because they're kind of notable. Let's see. So the scout camp we were at, it was in like western Massachusetts. I don't remember where. Was it Camp Raven Knob? Or was Raven Knob a different one? I honestly don't remember. But decent scout camp, decent facilities, a lot of like cool things. Had a nice lake so you could do boating and stuff, which is kind of fun. And I rather enjoyed going to camp there because it was actually a good camp for the most part. But one year it rained, and it didn't stop raining pretty much the entire time I was there. And yeah, thanks for dropping by, Complex, and thanks for the sub as well. Sorry you dropped by in the middle of me in full gripe mode. Though I don't know, I guess it's kind of entertaining. We'll see. And we remember the bad memories as a survival adaptation. Yup. I guess I'll put it right here. But so one year it rained really, really badly. And I remember it was so bad that, like, let's see, it was so bad. Oh, this organization system is starting to have holes in it. Whatever. I should probably eat some of this cooked fish. It was so bad that the whole place started flooding. Now, Bad Scoutmaster is like, it's no big deal. You know, don't move. This literally is like, oh, what is this? What is it? This is almost a freaking biblical tale now that I'm telling it. But he effectively didn't believe anything. It's just rain. Who gives a shit? So half the people on the trip just left their tents down below. I was like, that's a lot of rain. Like, the road is getting kind of slick, and like, this is not going to be great. So I found some old, like, wooden platforms that had been left behind in a previous camp, like a ways away. And the Scoutmaster was like, no, don't go there. You know, you shouldn't be going out there. I don't want to have to, like, pay attention to two camps. And I'm like, look, I'm 17 at this point. Like, I can kind of do what I want, and what you're currently doing is stupid. He's like, no, you know, everybody should keep their tents in place. Don't move. I moved, my brother moved, my dad moved, a couple other of our friends moved, because we thought it would be cool. You know, these platforms were nice and comfortable, and they actually had those stupid canvas tents that I was talking about all the way out in California. They're apparently a permanent feature in scout camps. I'm not really sure the details, but... Oh, I gotta get some more iron. I can make the next level of pickaxe. Can I make the next lighthouse? Yes, I can. More Boaty-No-Crashy! I gotta get a backpack. Oh, do I have some leather? I probably don't have enough, but I can probably start getting some more. Okay. But yeah, so effectively, like, a number of other, you know, scout groups in the area were also kind of running into this. You know, it's like, okay, the camp is starting to flood. Let's like try and figure out a solution. Some people left. Obviously, I was up on these platforms. There were like three 3 feet higher than the rest of the area. And nope, not a big deal. Nobody else cared. Everybody else just stayed where they were. Okay, fine. It's no biggie. Do what you want. Well, we go to bed. I'm high and dry on my wooden platform with a second tent over my main tent, as I'm gonna say, not added insurance or anything like that, but it was just, you know, it was to keep my tent dry. I go to bed just happy as can be. I'm like, yeah, this will be a good night. I'll be fine. The rain's not gonna bother me. It didn't bother me. At about, I'm gonna say 3 or 4 in the morning, the storm was bad the whole night. Like, this is the kind of storm that, like, they warn you about flash flooding if you had, say, TV. But of course, we're a bunch of scouts out in the wilderness with minimal electricity and obviously no TV. And so at 3 in the morning, we hear a bunch of people shouting because not only were the tents soaked through, they were starting to wash out. The ground was so muddy that the combined weight of the scouts inside on the incline were actually causing the tents to slide down the hill into the water. And so I think I just went back to bed. I don't actually remember getting out to help, which in retrospect is a colossal dick move. And I absolutely should have gotten up to help these people, but like, whoops. I don't know. But yeah, so there's no real moral to the story or anything like that. I got a full night's sleep. Oh right, we need some bricks. I gotta get rid of some stuff in here. Do we just get rid of the seaweed? It's not immediately or amazingly helpful. It's food. We can use it to make a couple of things, but it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, so I'm just gonna get rid of that. Wait, I can make vaults. What am I doing? I just gotta get rid of a smidge more.